first question, they gave us cos 75. And what we need to do was we need to break it into two degrees, two angles. We decided from our special triangles that 45 and 30 would work. 45 and 30 is 75, which gives us our cos AB. Now, I worked it out this way, but they wanted us to use our formula. Cos AB is equal to cos A times cos B minus sine A minus sine B. Cos pi over 4, when we looked at our special triangles, gives us 1 over root 2. Cos pi over 6 gave us root 3 over 2, subtracted by 1 over root 2, 1 over 2. We figured those out from our special triangles. Once we multiplied the two, we had a common denominator in our fractions, 2 times root 2. So our answer was root 3 minus 1 divided by 2 times root 2. That's technically it, but your professor or teacher wanted you guys to go a little farther. They want no roots on the bottom. So we did, technically this is like multiplying by 1, right? Because we put root 2 over root 2. So we multiply this by 1, which technically changes nothing. But in this case, we're able to multiply out and get rid of our roots on the bottom. So we had root 2 times 2 times root 2, and root 2 times everything on top. When we rearrange the order, root 2 times root 2 is 2, and 2 times 2 is 4. So we had 4 on the bottom, and we did distributive property. We got root 2 times root 3 minus root 2. Well, we can multiply these two roots together. We got root 6 minus root 2 is equal to 4. Second question was negative 15. Same idea, special triangles. We did 30 minus 45, so it gave us tan A minus B, which is our formula here. We discovered that A being 30 degrees is also equal to tan pi over 6 minus tan pi over 4, and plus tan pi over 6 times tan pi over 4. We equated them, 1 over root 3 minus 1, and 1 plus 1 over root 3 times 1. We had to make equivalent denominators, so we times 1 by root 3 on the top and bottom of the fraction. So we had 1 over root 3 minus root 3 over root 3, just so we could add and subtract the fractions together. Once we did that, we ended up with a fraction divided by another fraction. Okay? So we changed the way it looked into our fraction rules, and we changed it to a multiplication question by flipping the two fractions. Once we multiplied them together, we ended up with root 3 times 1 minus root 3, and root 3, 1 plus root 3. The root 3's canceled out, so we could have finished here, or we went to this answer. Now your teacher, again, wanted you to go farther. They want no roots on the bottom, so we had to multiply by root negative 1, same as like multiplying by 1. And we used our FOIL. Once we FOILed everything, we end up with these numbers here. The roots on the bottom canceled out. And we divided this term and this term by 2 and got their answer negative 2 plus 3. So finally, I know we went through quickly. Let's try to make sense of this one. This is the same idea. We're either going to need to create an A plus B or an A minus B from this. Now, this has already been put into our radians, okay? So we need to make a little more sense of this. We need to somehow get to 7 pi over 12, okay? And when we look at our special triangles over here, we know we have the 4th to the 6th and to the 3rd. So we're going to actually end up having to add for sure 2 of these together. We just need to figure out which 2. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put our special triangles quickly all in 12ths, so it'll be a little easier for us to look at. So we're just going to change the ratios a bit. Okay. So we're having our special triangles here. Instead of being pi over 4, my new angles are now going to be 3 pi over 12. Okay? Over 12. Those are my 45 degree angles. And that's for my first special triangle. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And our second special triangle, this is our 60 and our 30. This was our 45s. Instead of being pi over 3, which this one normally is, pi over 3, we're going to change that to 4 pi over 12. And instead of being pi over 6, we're going to change this one to 2 pi over 12. Make sense? So now when we're in 12, we know we can add or subtract something together. Now, we're probably going to have to add because we need to get to 7, and we don't have any pi's that are higher than 7. If I look at this, if I do 3 pi over 12 plus 4 pi over 12, that will give me my 7 pi over 12. Does that make sense? So we now have tangent. We know we're doing a plus b. We just said that out loud. We have tangent, and in this case, we're going to have 3 pi over 12 plus we said 4 pi over 12. And what I'm going to do is I'm just actually going to simplify it a little. So essentially it's going to become tangent pi over 4 plus pi over 3. So now we're used to doing it the way we see our fractions. We're going to put it into our formula. Our formula says that tan A plus tangent B divided by 1 minus tan A times tan B. Okay. What that's going to be is our tan A is going to be tangent pi over 4 plus tangent pi over 3 divided by 1 subtract tan pi over 4 tan pi over 3. Okay. Let's get our equivalent for our special triangles, what those equal. Tan pi over 4 is just 1 plus tangent pi over 3 is opposite over j is root 3 over 1, or in other words just root 3. Does that make sense? Yep. Okay. Let's double check that we're right there. Tangent is opposite over adjacent, so opposite and adjacent, that's root 3 over 1. Good. Above, in this case we have 1 subtract, and it's going to be the same numbers. 1 times root 3. So in this case, we have 1 plus root 3 divided by 1 minus root 3. Technically, this is our answer, but remember, your teacher doesn't want any roots on the bottom. So in order to get rid of this root on the bottom, we're going to have to think of it like a difference of squares. We're going to have to multiply this, both the top and the bottom, by 1. Now actually, we're going to rearrange this a little, just so we can better get rid of our middle roots. I'm going to rearrange this so this now says root 3 plus 1 divided by negative root 3 plus 1. Okay. To get rid of the root on the bottom, I believe we're going to be multiplying by, we'll have to multiply probably by root 3 minus 1. Root 3 plus 1. Now, I think the root may even have to be a negative.
Wait, why did you put negative root 3?
Because when I rearrange this, this is technically subtract root 3, so it's negative root 3 plus 1. Okay. Now we're going to multiply this, so we're going to be doing our FOIL. So in other words, we're going to have root 3 plus 1 times root 3 plus 1. That worked out nice. Over negative root 3 plus 1, root 3 minus 1. I think that'll help get rid of this for our FOIL. So root 3 times root 3 is 3. Root 3 times 1 is root 3. Root 3 times 1 is root 3. And 1 times 1 is 1. Does that make sense? I quickly FOILed the top. Let's see if this will give us our roots or not. Negative root 3 times root 3 is Negative root 3 plus 1 is plus root 3. Okay, I've made a mistake here. I know this won't work because when I multiply these two, I'm going to end up with positive root 3 plus root 3. Okay, so I made a mistake. I need to get rid of the roots on the bottom, so that's not going to work. In fact, I think it'll work better if it was... Oh, I wrote the numbers wrong even on top too. I'm not sure why I wrote it like that. They both need to be positive. If they're both positive, it'll work because of the negative root 3. So actually, my blunder on top worked out great because I rewrote the question wrong. So that's actually what's going to be on top. We're going to multiply both by positive 1. Okay? Does this idea make sense to you? Okay. So our bottom is going to change a little. Negative root 3 times root 3 is still negative 3. Negative root 3 times positive 1 is negative root 3. Here we go. Now we have 1 times positive root 3 gives us positive root 3. This is where we get rid of our roots. And 1 by 1 is 1. Does that make sense?
Yep.
We combine our terms. We get 4 plus 2 root 3. This will be divided by negative 3 plus 1, which is, well, our roots cancel out. Negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2. And now I can divide by each of those terms. 4 divided negative 2 is negative 2. And positive 2 divided by 2 is negative 1 or negative root 3. So we've gotten rid of all the roots on the bottom. So that's just be negative 2 minus